in Phoenix. Just did a sound check before the show we're doing here tonight. I'll post the dates for the rest of our tour in the description. But more importantly, I will talk about hierarchy, which is one of 4 laws of Heiligen, which is heaven. This is the last day of the first decan of Cancer, so tomorrow I'll start talking about art or aesthetics, which I'm actually kind of excited about. I'm digressing, unfortunately, but that's a topic that I really have philosophized about publicly a lot less than a lot of these other topics, even though I've written a lot for myself. But yeah, okay, so I already have done videos on sovereignty, emancipation, and individuation, and you can find those on the channel. And hierarchy really has two, it's one thing, but there are sort of two directions from which to approach it. The basic idea is that it is a law or a right involving being put into contact with needed resources, and then having those needed resources be in contact with what they need through you. And there is an interpersonal version of this, which is, I think, a deeply important theme in life. Is that there are certain kinds of relationships, and some of them are sinful, abusive, pathological, and others are not. And everybody is sort of already thrown into the world. Everybody is embedded in a social fabric, but one has the power to, in principle, choose to have people around you who have desires and drives and potentials that make it worthwhile for you to work with them, be around them, and they grow through their contact with you. You grow through your contact with them. And it sounds, I'm saying this in such a direct and simple way that it sounds banal, but it's very difficult to really realize that the situation you're in doesn't have to be the one that you're in necessarily. Sometimes it does, but usually in like a non sort of extreme situation. And I think one like really maybe fundamental insight is that human beings all have human beings all have this drive, characterized, I guess, sort of by the other 3 laws. A drive to sort of create in a unique way, as individuation, a way to make something of themselves, to sort of have a sustainable life, and to sort of have goals and achieve them, and that's emancipation. And people will be more satisfied, if they are desiring, if their actions are coming from intrinsic unique desire. That it's not just me that has that, or just you, but it's all of us. And this is typically something that is veiled. People are often ashamed of their uniqueness, or they're ashamed of their ambitions, or they're just sort of ashamed. And so you don't, and people are also very busy and kind of distracted and in their heads, and it kind of takes a lot. It can take a lot to really sense the way that a person that you're interacting with has that same, Lacan calls it the manque a être, the lack of being, that there's a way that every human being wants to be, and it's singular to them, though it may be a mix of healthy, unique things and socially imposed ideals that they would be better off without. But in any case, everyone has a way that they, feel that they already are, but have not fully manifested, or aren't fully recognized as yet. And they love to feel recognized for it, if possible. It's like there's a question, like people aren't sure whether they're really being seen the way that they want to be seen, and they unconsciously, so much of all this is unconscious. Unconsciously, like other people who will help them realize that, or will just make them feel that they already are that. There's this nebulousness to it. So part of hierarchy is just getting to know that lack in oneself, and trying to be actively conscious that it's there in others, and that you may not really know what that unique thing is for them, but maybe to try to find out, and then to choose relationships where those interlock well. Working with people who have talents that work well with you, spending time with people who like things that you like. I mean, this is all, again, kind of banal sounding stuff, but in principle, like you're living your life, and you can kind of, like, the environment around you can be this just very harmonious blossoming, if the right people are around, and you have the right agreements and understandings, and then I guess to avoid the opposite, there are relationships that are where maybe one person is benefiting from it and the other is not, and there are situations where people are they're actually seeking each other out unconsciously in order to limit one another's potential, and they're both losing because of the relationship. And so and then generally, like, then there's a more kind of abstract, technical version of it, which involves, I think, just people being put in touch with the resources that they need. And there are all these, like, everybody everybody has edges where they could stand to grow and heal, and those are specific things for everyone. And there's certain things that you are ready to learn because you know so much, and other things that you're not ready to learn yet, and so just as a sort of social and even sort of technological thing, there should be, and I would say is, a right for people to be put in touch with what will help them, and that has, like, I don't know, there's sort of both like a communist and capitalist side. Like there's, on the one hand, logistics is a big part of that, just kind of having a system of logistics that is coordinating things well enough so people get what they need. That's very valuable. But then there's also, people who are left out or left behind, who, deserve to be given resources that they don't have, that they could have. So there's there's social, interpersonal, there's technological, there's political, but the basic idea is that we are, Deleuze has the term desiring machines, which is nice too. We're these like evolving, units of like sort of love and creation and fear and hope, and kind of half conscious dreams, and it really is possible to coordinate that all into a glorious choir, and it's also possible to not do that. And there's certainly an element of chance to it, but it also takes thought and just sort of being awake to certain realities that everyone already kind of knows, but just don't necessarily have the language for, or do have the language for, but aren't necessarily thinking about. So that's the essence of the law of hierarchy. And sovereignty, hierarchy, emancipation, individuation, those seem like four ideals, similar to the way that currently freedom, equality, and fraternity are ideals, where it's not totally clear what they mean, but they clearly they should be touchstones of all of social life. They should be sort of the meaning of collective life, and they have an abstractness to them that I think renders them eternal, or at least very, very durable. Many things about society could change, and these would still be there as kind of worthy ideals. So there's my thought, and with that I close this